The word Galamsey is derived from the phrase gather and sell. Galamsey is a local Ghanaian parlance that means illegal small-scale coal mining in Ghana. Such workers are known as Galamseyers. Galamseyers are people who form illegal gold mining independent of mining companies, digging small working pits, tunnels and sluices by hand. Galamsey is also referred to as illegal artisanal small-scale mining, also known as ASM. Generally, the Galamseyers can dig only to a limit depth far shallower and smaller than commercial mining companies. The number of Galamseyers in Ghana is unknown, but believed to be from 20,000 to 50,000, including thousands of Chinese. Now, the information minister recently claimed that there are now 200,000 people engaged in Galamsey, and according to other sources, there are nearly 3 million people who rely to it for their livelihoods. Well, this evening we'll be having a significant deliberation regarding the fight against Galamsey and its recent developments in the country. I have with me Madam Awula Serwah, who is the coordinator of Eco-Friendly Conscious. Welcome, Madam.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Eco-conscious citizens. Yes.
Eco-conscious citizens.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we also have Dr. Yvonne Law, who is a lecturer from the Department of Earth Science, University of Ghana, who will be joining us via phone in the course of time. Well, it is known that Galamsey has really affected the country significantly. In the beginning of the 20th century, it wasn't really much of a big problem, even though a number of people complained about it. But then, in the course of time, it has been realized that it is significantly affecting our natural resources as well as our water bodies. Madam, I hope you agree with me on this.
Well, what I would say is that what we have now, is it really Galamsey or is it just criminal activity? You said yourself that Galamsey, we used to use hand tools so that the amount of damage was not so significant. Right now, what we have are excavators. The kind of machinery we have is causing a lot of devastation. So what I would say the situation is now is that we have criminal activity, as opposed to in the past where we had Galamsey come and gather using hand tools. So there was a limit to the damage you could cause. And to the best of my knowledge, they were not using mercury and cyanide and poisoning our river bodies as is taking place right now. They were not going into forest reserves and destroying everything inside, digging pits. And right now we have the death toll rising. Just recently, 2 teenage girls drowned in a pit. So I think that the dynamics have changed considerably.
Okay, that's fine. But well, if I listen to you clearly, you explain the fact that gather and sell, it means that it was a small mining on a small scale basis, right?
Exactly.
Yes, but now it looks like there have been heavy machinery.
Exactly. We look at excavators, we look at the kind of machinery being used. The dynamics have changed completely. So the damage obviously is far worse than it was in the past, where we just used hand tools. And what's happening now is devastating. And I'm not quite sure there's any fights going on. But you really have to sit up because our forest reserves are going, our forests are being depleted, and then our water bodies, the poisoning. I've been told that in the mining area, there are birth defects, there are problems with kidney disease, and so on and so forth. You cannot tell me that you are looking at employment. What about those who have cocoa farms, the farmers who are being displaced, whose farms are being destroyed? Don't they matter? What's the point of celebrating Farmers' Day when we don't care about our farmers? And there's also the issue of food security when we are destroying all the, when we are destroying our farms and so on and so forth. So what I would say is that we have a clear and present danger. We have to sit up and look at the fact that nothing justifies destroying your environment. Nothing justifies that. In fact, a lot of income can come from even just allowing the forest to be. We have the carbon sink. You can be paid for just having your forest intact. So we need to explore different ways of monetizing our forest. But it is unacceptable, completely unacceptable, to have mining everywhere in sight. And what has really upset me is that we have passed LI 2462, which allows mining in forest reserves. And the so-called protected areas, like globally significant biodiversity areas, such as Atiwa Forest Reserve, you can actually mine there if you have approval in writing from the president. This law was passed in November 2022. So what kind of seriousness are we exhibiting when we are actually prepared to allow mining in sacred areas, in our forest reserves? If you look at the protected areas, section 3 of LI 2462, it tells you so many areas that we shouldn't see any mining taking place there, yet we're allowing it. So for me, the fight is not really there.
Oh, okay, but well, you've said a whole lot about the fight against Galamsey, and we have seen that government has spoken. Literally has spoken about its commitment towards the fight against Galamsey. What's your opinion on that? Not just basically, you could see that they went to the extent of burning excavators and all that. According to them, they are fighting this challenge. What is your opinion regarding government?
Well, you see, commitment has to be demonstrated. If I'm committed to fighting Galamsey, and somebody like a man of stature like Professor Frimpong Boateng has written a report where he's detailing why the fight is not going anywhere. If I'm really committed, wouldn't I look at this report? Would it sit on somebody's desk for 2 years until the press exposes it? Commitment needs to be demonstrated. What do you mean by commitment? If you are really committed, it wasn't somebody walking down the street. It was somebody, Professor Frimpong Boateng, who was supposed to be very much involved in the fight. So he's written a report. Are you going to sit on it, or are you going to go into the report? And again, if you look at the persons named, highly placed persons, is it surprising that the fight doesn't seem to be going anywhere? Burning excavators, how does that really help in the scheme of affairs, where the high players are just walking around still engaged in Galamsey, or shall I say in criminal activities? Because I would not call it Galamsey, I'll just say it's purely criminal activity.
Okay, that's fine. Regarding the report, you've brought the issue on board. Now, in the report, it was stated that you can see that government, it looks like some government officials are actually involved. Now, don't you think that it could also be a way within which the former minister wanted to find a way, excuse my language, of sabotaging the present government?
Absolutely not. I don't see that at all. For what it's worth, this is a report that has been written about why the Galamsey, the fight against illegal mining, isn't going anywhere. We've put our presidency on the line because we supposedly care about the destruction of our environment. For whatever his reasons are, the first thing you do is that you study the report and you look at setting up an independent public inquiry. An independent public inquiry where members of the public with information can come forward. And of course, then those named have an opportunity to clear their names. But for the report to just sit on somebody's desk and for us to attribute all sorts of reasons why we are not studying the report until the press exposes it. And now what has changed? The contents of the report haven't changed. The only thing that has changed is that the report has been exposed, and that is why we are now talking about it. So the way forward is to have an independent inquiry into this report and make sure that whatever comes out of it is also made public, so that it doesn't sit on somebody's desk for the next 2 years.
Okay, that's great. Now, an independent committee set up by government, right?
Well, once it's independent, who is going to set it up? It has to be set up. But once it's independent and once it's public, when I say public, it's not under closed doors. Members of the public will know what's going on. The press will be there. All eyes will be there. So it will not be very easy to hide facts. because it's going to be public. So it doesn't matter who sets it up. Once it's public and the person going into the report, obviously it's going to be somebody everybody can trust, because it's going to be, everything will be public and open. I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of this matter, but it has to be a public inquiry.
Okay. Public inquiry. I agree with you. We have been in this country where we've heard of various committees that have been set up to solve or investigate issues that they believe that there have been some inconveniences in there. But if you look at the cause of these committees that have been set up, it looks like in the course of time they do not really come up the way they should be.
And that's precisely why we are saying that if we want this inquiry to go anywhere, it has to be public. Members of the press are there at each sitting. They are reporting what is going on. Members of the public, organizations, environmental organizations, NGOs, anybody who has information, the farmers whose lands are being destroyed, those who are actually at the suffering end of this whole exercise, those who are losing their livelihood because of the pollution that is coming, they can come and give evidence and so on and so forth. I believe that will show commitment to getting to the root of this criminal activity going on. Criminal. We have a situation where our waters are virtually all polluted. We have a situation where the land is being poisoned. So right now, when we are consuming tubers, cassava, yam, do we know what we are actually consuming? When we are eating fish, do we know what we are actually consuming? There's a food security issue. These Ghana Water Company have told us that at this rate we'll have to import water. Do we really appreciate the consequences of what's going on? So to talk about employment, it's just, I can't even find the words. It's just not the kind of argument that one can use. If we want mining, it needs to be responsible. What's the point of making money from Galamsey when you're going to end up with cancer and tumors and all sorts of things? It doesn't make any sense to me. So somebody can help me understand, but I am just struggling to understand the points being made about employment.
Okay. Well, we also have on the line Dr. Yvonne Law, who is from the Department of Earth Science, University of Ghana. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right.
To all your listeners.
All right. You're welcome. The topic for discussion is about the fight against Galamsey and its recent development. Yes. And I'm here with Madam Awula Serwah, who is also the coordinator of
Eco-conscious
citizens. Okay, so I would like to ask you, Madam Doctor, what's your opinion regarding the Galamsey menace, or regarding the fight against this menace in the country? What's your opinion?
Galamsey, the history is that our forefathers were allowed to also exploit the natural resources. And the term that came out of Galamsey actually is gather and sell. So with that, they were allowed to use only bowls and cutlasses, so they can also enjoy the nation's resources. However, with time, things changed. And even that aspect, which is the gather and sell, which has become Galamsey we do, and even small-scale mining, is the preserve of the Ghanaian, not foreigners. But as we know it now, Ghanaians front and take licenses and then give it to foreigners. That's for the small-scale mining. And with that, some of the licensing processes also takes a long time. So people do not have the patience. And so they go and then do their own thing without licenses. So instead of just using hoes and cutlasses to take just a few here and there, they have partnered with foreigners, and now some of them have the financial muscle to buy the equipment themselves. And I have to also say that it has increased to that level that those who are supposed to be the watchmen are also involved.
Okay. I think that's a great one in there. The watchmen, is it people of power, if I may get you correctly?
Yes, people of power, both traditional and national politicians.
All right. I think you've made a very great point there. We'll come back to that side, but I would want to dwell with Madam Awula Serwah regarding, once again, regarding your committee. Right. You spoke about the committee. I want to get you correctly. Does it mean that it has to involve stakeholders publicly in order to check and ensure accountability when it comes to fighting the menace?
Well, I mean, we can see right now that we haven't really been fighting the menace. There's been a charade going on. There's been a lot of pretense, but I'm not quite sure when, as the previous speaker has just said, the watchmen themselves are, from the information available, seem to be themselves involved. The head of the Forestry Commission will tell you that he has no objection to mining in a forest reserve. So if the firefighter has no objection to arson, then where do we find ourselves? And but I want to make a point that it's not just a question of licenses. I mean, when you have a license to drive, does that mean that you drive well? Because the pollution is coming just from the criminal activities. Some of those with licenses are also polluting our water. So it's not just about licenses. I'll give you an example. We have our brothers in Sechua Tronsu. They have a beautiful stream, their Tronsu stream, which was so pure. You could say that it was even, they said that the water tastes even better than Evian. Recently, the water has become polluted. And in the course of investigations, it appears the pollution is coming from Ghana Bauxite Company, who have extended their activities. They are not in Atronsu, they are in a neighboring community. So they have a license. They are not mining bauxite illegally. But the nature of bauxite mining, which is surface mining, that is why we have a problem with mining bauxite at Itiwa Forest Reserve. And there's a court action taking place as we speak. I'm one of the plaintiffs because we say that it's totally irresponsible to mine bauxite in a forest reserve, which is a source of water to over 5 million people and which has endangered animal and plant species. So the license alone does not mean that it's not going to pollute our environment.
Okay. I agree with you. Still regarding, I think I'd like to still dwell more on that point regarding the protection of water bodies and forest reserves. Now, in the Mining Forest Reserve Regulation 2022, Section 9 makes provision for water bodies, and then it says that any rightful holder does not have the right to encroach any water body when it comes to mining. But then, unless they have a permit or they go in accordance with a section of the law. What's your opinion regarding this?
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is that what you're talking about is about monitoring. I have a license which gives me some parameters. But if nobody is monitoring, what do you think is going to happen? And that is the whole point of some of the issues Professor Frimpong Boateng raised. That the fact that you have a permit does not mean that you can go so close to water bodies and pollute them. But the problem is that you need somebody who is monitoring. And our monitoring agencies up to the task? And that is why people were against community mining, saying that even with the big-scale miners, monitoring is an issue. But if you have community mining and you have so many people with licenses, are we able to monitor? Of course not. So you have those who have the community mining licenses. Does that mean that because they have the licenses, they are not degrading the environment or polluting our waters? So that is the issue. It's not just about licenses. It's about being able to monitor. And we know that the monitoring regime we have is very, very weak. I would like anybody to challenge me on that. It's very weak. So why do we want to bring in community mining and compound the problem we already have? If we are serious, there'll be a pause on community mining, and we can focus on the large-scale mining we have and make sure that we monitor so that they do not degrade our environment.
All right, sure. I'd like to go to Dr. Yvonne Law. Now, Doctor, you spoke about the fact that licenses, yes, as Madam Awula emphasized, licenses. Now, does it mean that it's more of Ghanaians or local people acquiring licenses and giving them to foreigners in order to assist them or to directly be involved in the illegal mining process? Can you explain how this whole process is done from your point of view?
Okay, thank you. So if I said license, yes, there is need for license. So I tried to explain the difference between the illegal mining and the legal. Those who do small-scale mining are licensed. And once you have a license, you are given a place to operate. However, yes, Madam Awula has made a point that when you have a license doesn't mean that you are doing the right thing. That is why I have said that those who are supposed to ensure that the right things are done are also compromised in one way
or the other.
So you will not have it. So indeed, when you have a reckless driver on there is somebody on the road to check that person. Our police do that, even though not to the best that we want, but they are regularly on the road. So at least their presence on the road also puts some kind of discipline in people. However, when it comes to this illegal mining, so there is a legal part, there is an illegal part. Yes, even the large-scale mining operated, but they are closely checked.
Oh, okay.
And their mining regulations also do not allow them to, destroy the environment like that. There are policies, there are rules as to how they should mine and even close the mine. Okay, so they are much regulated than the small-scale mining. So I am saying that even the small-scale mining, people apply for license, they don't get, then they take the law into their own hands and send heavy machinery and destroy the land. So you are supposed to apply for your license. Minerals Commission must do the necessary checks, and the place that you want to mine, you must first and foremost go and map the place out, bring it to Minerals Commission. They will do the necessary checks. If that place is something that must be given out before they give you the license. But like I said, these processes are there, but it lacks in integrity. And that is something that those who have been employed, those who are being paid to ensure that the right things are done, must be questioned. So it's not only from the license holder or whoever is doing the illegal, but it's a whole process, it's a whole chain of activity, and that must be checked. So once the people do not have the license anymore, the places they have earmarked to do their things, they realize that other people are encroaching, so they also move in. So it's such a mess we have found ourselves in. And until we put a stop to it, we are not going to find, because look, they make a lot of money from there. Several projects have been done in such areas to give them alternative livelihood. But no, it doesn't work. People still go back to do the illegal things because within a space of time, they make millions of dollars. So how do we stop it? We can only stop it like President Akufo-Addo did earlier on and lifted the ban again. And now it's even gone to the next level. So that ban shouldn't have been lifted because there are other rich natural resources countries that are placing bans on it. Australia, for instance, very rich, but they do not do this kind of mining. You see, even China, they don't do it. It's either large scale or large scale, and that is it. So why should we allow ourselves for them to come here and destroy our land? And indeed, I agree that our land is destroyed. The air we breathe is compromised. The water is compromised. And these elements are compromised. And that is the very livelihood for the Ghanaian.
Okay. You said a whole lot, but I would like to take it one after the other. You spoke about the fact that regarding the license, it takes a long period of time, and that the Minerals Commission and other relevant stakeholders or the authorities would have to do their checks. Now, here are the cases where illegal miners usually complain about the fact that it takes 5 to 10 years, sometimes over 10 years, before they are given their license. What causes that long period of time?
That is a puzzle or the maze we all have to walk now. I don't know why Minerals Commission and the relevant state agencies should take that length of time to give them, but so many things go on there, and I don't think I am in the position to
talk about it.
Those things, because some of them, yes, you have observed, others you have heard, and since I do not have hard facts to prove them, I don't think that I would want to mention whatever is going on in the Minerals Commission and other people who are, but it's messy, and there is need for a shake-up.
Okay, Doctor, that's fine. I'll come back to you, but let me go to Madame Awula. Now, what is your opinion, Madame Awula, regarding the laws of the country? Is it that regarding laws that govern mining in the country, is it that it's too lenient, it's too soft, or the laws are there but they are not enforced, or what is your opinion regarding the laws that govern mining in the country?
I think it's just a question of enforcement. We sometimes seem to be allergic to enforcement, not just in the mining field. Look at noise pollution. People make as much noise as they like, whilst the authorities stand idly by, even though the laws are there. So let's go back to mining. It's not the absence of laws, it's the enforcement of the laws. And of course, where highly placed persons are involved, we don't want to enforce anything. Let's look at, for example, what happened in the Tano Nimiri Forest Reserve with Akonta mining. The destruction that took place. Has anybody been held accountable? Of course not. So the point I'm making is that we don't need any more laws. We have sufficient laws. All we need to do is to enforce them. And I made the point that our monitoring regime is very, very weak. So that the community mining is a bad idea, because you have so many people you're supposed to be monitoring. Even a few, you can't even manage them. How come you're going to add more to your plate? And I'm going to keep on saying it that we Ghanaians are happily destroying our country on our own. Yes, with other foreign nationals come in. But how do they come in? They need visas to come in. Who allows them in? They don't know the terrain. We take them there. So at the end of the day, the blame is firmly on our shoulders. And if we want to start making some headway, I think we should have to put an end to community mining. And then we have to ensure that everybody leaves forest reserves. There's a reason why a forest is declared a forest reserve. It's not so that you can go and mine there. And the law that we recently passed, which allows mining in forest reserves and even protected areas, so long as you have the approval of the president, should be repealed straight away. Such even the declassifying of parts of Achimota Forest, that would show commitment. That in my mind will show commitment. Without that, I see a lot of words being uttered. But I have to say that I'm not quite sure that there's much commitment to combating this menace. And we are all going to suffer if we don't all sit up and say that, look, this has to stop. How can you have all your forests being dug up, your waters being polluted, and then we all sit there and we're just, involved in rhetoric. I'm not sure that we are serious about this whole menace.
All right, I'll come to the forest reserve issue, but then you said a whole lot. Let's move to Doctor. Your opinion regarding the mining laws governing the country. Hello, Doctor.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
I wanted.
I missed you.
Yes. We wanted to find out from you your opinion regarding the laws governing mining in Ghana. Is it that it's too lenient, or it's too soft, or they are not being enforced? What's your opinion regarding the laws governing mining in Ghana generally?
You know, the laws are very good laws governing mining in Ghana, in the sub-region. In fact, in Ghana, which others also come to learn from. But sorry about that. Yes, sorry about the interruption. The laws regarding our mining are very good. But our problem as Ghanaians is that we don't enforce our laws. Like my other conversant said, we don't enforce the laws. If only we'll be willing to enforce our laws, everything in Ghana will be done right. People come into there. I don't even want to say those things, but a forest reserve, a forest that has been reserved for years, you come to power, you are made sector minister, and then you go and bring people and they declassify it and you share it amongst yourself. That is what we are doing now. And the other one, to digress a bit, you see how we are building on our mountain range. When you drive from Adenta Barrier towards Ebri, you will see that new buildings are springing up. Cities don't grow laterally. Beautiful cities grow vertically. That's what we see in Ghana. That place, when you drive in 2 years ago, you see it green. Accra is low-lying. We are talking about flooding in Accra. Yet, the lowest point of the country, which is Accra, surrounded by this mountain, you are cutting the trees, building houses, putting a concrete pavement, roofing, and increasing the surface area for runoff. So what is going to happen to flooding in Accra? If we don't take time, time will come, the whole of Accra will be submerged. Because the foothill, which is also supposed to serve as wetland, to allow for time for the rains to infiltrate the soil, have all been built up. The mountain that had the trees, and we know from our little geography what the trees should do for us. Even this one, see the kind of menace here. Go there and see the kind of people who have plots there and building. The common man cannot build there. They are the people we have set as watchmen. So, really, the laws are there. We are not enforcing them. We behave as if we don't have understanding. Selfishness and greed has eaten the very fiber of the society. That anyone who is doing the wrong is seen to be rich and is hailed in society. Until we put our laws ahead of everybody, we will go down the hill in every sector of our economy. So the laws of Ghana regarding mining, small-scale mining, are very good. However, enforcement is our problem. It shouldn't take anyone 10 years to acquire license. It shouldn't. Even driver's license. That they say when you apply for the premium, you get it within. Those who use the genuine way are rather kept in waiting. Then you are forced to go the other way. that will make you have it earlier. That is the kind of system we have built, and it is eating our very being. So the earlier we enforce our laws to ensure that this menace stops, and we begin to put in reclamation measures, the better for us.
All right, sure. That's fine. Both of you have said a lot. You said a lot regarding the laws in the country. But then, who should watch the watchman, or who should be in charge? Because when it comes to law enforcement, we know that we have agencies. But here lies the case where, as has been stated earlier, people of power or authority, let's not go deeper, but then have been involved. Would you have a way, Madam Awula, of explaining whichever way you suggest could be within which laws can really be enforced to ensure that mining in the country would be checked?
Well, I mean, you have to put the right people in the right positions. I mean, I started by saying that we have the person in charge of Forestry Commission who says that he has no objection to mining in the forest reserve. That was following a request from Akonta Mining to mine in the Tano Nimri Forest Reserve. But then I have to say that everybody has a role to play. The media have a role to play. For example, if you go back to Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, if the media hadn't exposed it, wouldn't know about it. So as the has been said, and I really want to commend the doctor, she spoke very well, made very, very valid points. As has been said, when the gatekeepers are not doing their job, the media has a responsibility to expose. And then the people also have so many things they can do. There's people's power. You cannot decide not to vote for persons who are just going to destroy your country, because at the end of the day, we all stand to lose. And whilst I'm at it, perhaps we need to move the capital from Accra. We are building everywhere. We are destroying our forest reserves. We are building on Ramsar sites. We are building on waterways. We are building everywhere. Perhaps we need to move the capital somewhere else. Maybe Kintampo, which is supposed to be the center of Ghana, and then build a green city somewhere else. But at the rate at which we are going, if there's a little tremor, I shudder to think what's going to happen. Heavy rainfall, continued rainfall, I don't know what's going to happen the way we've built everywhere and have felled all our trees. But to answer your question precisely, we all have a role to play, and it's for the media to highlight instances where those who should enforce are not enforcing. If they are unable to enforce, they should probably go somewhere else and let people who are able to enforce laws take those positions, because we cannot go on like this. All our laws are very good. The only problem we have is enforcement.
Okay, that's fine. Doctor, would you have a little to add regarding the suggestion of law enforcement in the country?
Yes, I think she has said it all. Enforcement is the issue. And indeed, our media. You see, as I sit in my small corner, I don't have a voice to go. It's only you who can give me a voice, like you have given this platform today. And the media must be interested in it.
Absolutely.
Because look, think about it. Right now, in such mining communities, they are registering birth defects.
Wow.
And that birth defects they are registering, you in the next 10 years, do we know where it is taking us? It's going to burden our economy, because you have human population that have defects, that are in the hospital, that cannot help in any way. Babies are born with all sorts of abnormalities because of this kind of mining they are doing and polluting everything. They use mercury in the limit, in the slightest of concentration, 0.0001 milligrams per liter, is detrimental to our health. And that is what they use, cadmium. And so once they put this into the environment, they form a chain of reaction. Then heavy metals are now released into the water. When they stopped the Galamsey, we started saying, oh, the water is becoming clear. It isn't, it's becoming clear of sediments. It is only the sediments that are settling out. But if you go and taste that clear water and you test it, the kind of chemical concentration you will find in that water, you'll be amazed. And you see, water interacts with groundwater. Surface water interacts with groundwater. That same surface water can go down there and it pollutes the groundwater that the people drink. Unfortunately, some of them still live on the surface water untreated. So we really, really need to take this thing very seriously. It is our life. Look, where my fish comes from, I don't know. It may be coming from there. Where my contomere comes from, once the soil is degraded, the plants feed on the nutrients in that. The plants are not selective in absorbing nutrients. They take every nutrient. You go and take your contomere, you think you are eating, but you are taking heavy metals. So let us not think that it is only affecting where the activity is. It's an ecosystem. We are living on it. The water is moving uphill, down slope. So it will get into another water body. So let us stop it.
Okay.
We need to stop it with immediate effect.
Okay. That's fine. So far, so good. We've had a very fruitful deliberation. But I'd like to ask one last question. Now, I'll begin with you, Madam Awula. But then, let me read this. It says, in the Mining of Forest Reserve Regulation 2022, Section 8, it states that a mineral right holder shall, in carrying out excavation and drilling activities on a forest reserve, he or she must avoid areas which are environmentally or culturally sensitive when positioning drill holes. It's quite more of the exact opposite we see today. Madam Awula, your opinion on this?
My opinion is that there should be no mining whatsoever in forest reserves, period. I do not see the wisdom or logic in mining in forest reserve. No to mining in Atiwa Forest Reserve. It will pollute the source of water to over 5 million people and kill endangered species, both plant and animal. There should be no mining whatsoever. I really don't get it. Why do we have forest reserves? And I've just said that we've passed a new LI, which means that you can even mine in protected forest reserve areas. You can even mine in globally significant areas, such as Atiwa Forest Reserve, so long as the president believes that it's in the national interest. How can it be in the national interest, as the doctor has kindly told us about birth defects and so on and so forth, poisoning ourselves? How can that ever be in the national interest? Nothing will be achieved from mining in forest reserve. For heaven's sake, they are forest reserves. Leave them alone and find other ways to make to get income. There's a green economy. I've also talked about the carbon sink, where you can have money just by leaving your forest intact. Until you can find better technology, leave your forest reserves alone.
Okay. Well, you're live on Class 91.3 FM. This is the Professionals Forum hosted by Nana Kojopo. Dr. Law, would you have to say any little thing regarding what she said?
Leave our forest alone. It's called a reserve.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. I think basically all has been said, and to the powerful person or to the grassroots person or any stakeholder in there, leave our forest alone. Well, before we wrap up the show, I'd like each one of you just wrapping up any 3 recommendations that you would like to give to government within 3 minutes.
Starting with
Madam Awula.
First of all, leave our forest reserves alone. Leave Etiwa Forest Reserve alone. Leave Atronsu alone. The community do not want community mining. No community mining. In fact, put a pause on all community mining, because we are unable to enforce our laws and our monitoring regime is virtually, or shall I say, is very weak. those are the recommendations. If you're very serious about protecting Ghanaians from cancer and future diseases we are going to get, in fact, they've started, leave our forest reserves alone. Don't go and do Green Ghana and then next minute you are declassifying Achimota forest, parts of it, and then you are passing laws that allow mining in forest reserves. Leave our forest reserves alone. And make sure that you improve your monitoring regime for the big mining companies.
All right, sure. That's fine. Dr. Law, any 3 recommendations you'd like to give?
Yes. Enforce our laws is crucial. Anyone who is put in any position who is seen to have been working against the laws of this country must be taken off from them. 2, we must learn to work with experts. Today, if you are not a party card holder and an expert in any field, nobody wants to work with you. The experts are there. The politicians are scheming and taking the job of the experts. Why did we go to school? Citing one example of borehole drilling. Today, politicians are the ones buying rigs and drilling indiscriminately. Do we know what that means? With no cause for the laid down procedures and laws that govern groundwater exploration and exploitation. It is all money, money, money. Let us work with our experts. Let us not seek for ourselves today. Let us think about the future generation, knowing that you and I will not remain on earth forever and ever. We need to bequeath something right for our children and their children's children.
Okay.
These are the 2 main important things I want us to do. Work with experts. We have experts. We have them. Work with them. Tap into their expertise. And then we'll do the mining well and preserve the environment the way we ought to do it. And stop the illegal mining. Thank you.
All right, fine. I think all has been said. Thank you very much, Madam Awula Serwah, who's the coordinator of Eco Conscious Citizens. I got the name right.
You got it right.
All right, and